We know that the earth that we live on is really unique. It's unique not only because it is the only planet which is conducive for sustaining life, but also because since the evolution of mankind, it has fascinated us. It has fascinated us because whatever the expression that we use called as civilization, this itself was based on whatever that earth has provided for us for our meaningful livelihood. And hence, probably this attribute called Mother Earth has been used by the entire mankind, signifying the importance of Earth and its contribution towards such civilization. And whatever that we study as part of geography, remember that it has emerged as a field for studying not only the surface features of the earth, but also the entire relationship this surface of the earth has in terms of relationship with whatever the entire inhabitants that it has, and of course particularly whatever the relationship that it has with what is called as mankind or humans. Hence geography is very significant in identifying, elaborating and clearly expressing in scientific terms this uniqueness of earth. So this takes us to the immediate next question. What sort of relationship that we have between the earth and whatever the inhabitants that it has? Here, in order to understand this relationship, we have various structures within this study of geography. For example, if you look at what is called as general geography, we know that general geography provides us the entire interaction that is required for geography in such a way where whatever the planet that we called as Earth will get its entire information in the form of its origin, its age, and its participation in this system called solar system. And apart from that, we also try to know within this general geography what sort of internal structure that the earth has, what sort of composition that it has, and also what sort of various geological processes which are occurring within this internal structure. This is the first step in identifying the relationship between the earth and her inhabitants. Secondly, we also know that this internal structure has been comprising of what is called as plates, and it has its own dynamics in such a way that it leads to various processes on the surface of the earth. Thirdly, we also know that there are certain exogenic processes that are known to this earth's surface, and because of the geographic work of certain agents such as river, wind, underground water, glaciers, oceans, etc. on the surface of the earth, they lead to the development of certain landforms. You again see that in these two terms, there is a clear relationship that is getting established between earth and the inhabitants, because there are specific life forms that we see in all these landforms. Fourthly, very importantly, we also have certain structures on the surface of the earth that we get to see, such as folds, faults, joints, and all these are again certain geographic aspects which give us this inherent relationship between the earth and her inhabitants. So getting to know the relationship between the earth and her inhabitants hence requires us to look at various structural characteristics of earth beginning from its origin. This is where we try to focus on earth and its origin and how it has evolved over a period of time. In order to know the evolution of the earth, we must also look at the evolution of the universe itself, because earth is just a very, very minute component of the entire universe. And if you remember, from time to time in the history of science, a fundamental concept appears that unifies the entire field of study by pulling together whatever the diverse theoretical aspects or practical aspects that we have as part of the entire body of observations that we have made. in this scientific discipline. You find such a concept in physics, which is known as theory of relativity. You find such a concept in chemistry, which can be defined as the nature of chemical bond. We also find such a concept in biology, which is regarded as DNA. And in astronomy, you have one such theory, which is called as Big Bang. This is a grand unification theory of various observations that have been made with respect to astronomy. And as I told you, Earth is one of the planets of our solar system, which is considered as I said, unique. And we know that it's a privileged planet amongst all the planetary bodies that we have because of the conditions which are prevailing on it, and because it makes itself habitable for different kinds of life forms. Just because of this, we must know how this universe has come into existence, and then how the sun and other planets have formed and evolved in order to understand the origin of our planet called Earth. Hence, we'll move further to read and study about what is called as Big Bang. Here, we must remember that the origin of universe is what the first step that we have to take. As of now, we have a very firm understanding of how the universe has begun. Here, as part of geography, if we have to understand how this universe has begun, remember, geography always takes leaves out of astronomy, astrophysics, and also cosmology. What is this astronomy? Astronomy is all about study of whatever the bodies that we have within this space. Secondly, you have what is called as astrophysics, where we try to apply the principles of physics to the study of such celestial bodies that we have in the space. Cosmology is all about the study of the origin and development of the universe. Here, I actually thought of keeping it very simple, trying to be very generic. However, we have certain fundamental reasons why we have to look at this origin of the universe through this theory called Big Bang theory in a bit elaborate manner. Number one, we know that we have this theory called Big Bang, and this theory of Big Bang has purely remained theoretical in its observation and explanation. However, you have this experiment to be conducted and is being conducted called as LHC experiment by what is called as CERN. What is this LHC? Large Hadron Collider Experiment. This is being conducted in order to know what is called as Higgs field. This Higgs field is fundamental in knowing how this entire universe has come into being, and for which we have constructed a huge tunnel, which is the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator. Secondly, this experiment didn't fail. This experiment has led to the discovery of what is called as Higgs boson particle. What is this Higgs boson particle? This is what is regarded as God's particle, which has been discovered in 2012. We should look at it in detail a bit later. There is a third reason. There was a lot of involvement of Indian scientists in this experiment. They have contributed a lot. And apart from that, when you read about this Higgs boson particle, you know who this Higgs was. He was Peter Higgs, who tried to identify what is called as Higgs field. However, you have another expression named boson. Remember, this expression boson has been given by the scientists in order to remember the very important contributions made by an Indian origin scientist who is none other than Satyendranath Bose. Boson here has been discovered from this expression Bose. Apart from these bosons, there is one more very important work that Satyendranath Bose has done. He was in association with Albert Einstein in theorizing what is called as quantum theory of light. Quantum theory of light. You see how the importance of this single theory called Big Bang theory has increased because of all these contributions. Now how come all these make it's important for the exam? Remember, LHC from every now and then it will appear in the current affairs. Apart from this, there is a fourth reason. In 2019, world has celebrated 125th birth anniversary of Satyendranath Bose. There is fifth important reason. Recently, the world has seen demise of this famous scientist Stephen Hawking, who is known to have studied extensively the time dimension. And he is the one who has taken forward this theory of Big Bang further. Sixthly, you have one very important development. The scientific community could capture what is called as gravitational waves. You have this observatory called the Laser Infonometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, which is shortly known as LIGO. This LIGO could capture these gravitational waves. Have a glimpse of these gravitational waves. These gravitational waves are ripples in space-time. You know, when these celestial bodies move, which are very large bodies, you will have this curvature called space-time, and this space-time curvature changes, and these changes move outwards in the form of a ripple. This is just like a ripple in a pond, and these ripples are called as gravitational waves. So as I told you, the gravitational wave is a stretch and squash of the entire space, and so can be found by measuring the change in the length of these two objects. Remember, these gravitational waves have already been asked in the examination last year. Albert Einstein predicted the existence of gravitational waves in 1916 itself through his theory called general theory of relativity. And Einstein's mathematics have showed clearly that these massive accelerating objects such as the neutron stars or black holes, which are orbiting each other, would disrupt the space-time warp in such a way that these waves of undulating space-time would propagate in all directions away from their source. So these cosmic ripples would travel at the speed of light, carrying with them whatever the information about their origin is, as well as many clues to the nature of this force called gravity itself. So the gravitational waves are a very significant step in terms of identifying them, capturing them. It was felt that these gravitational waves are very difficult to capture. However, LIGO has ensured that it could be captured. And this is the reason why the Big Bang becomes very important to know in detail. And apart from this aspect of capturing it by LIGO on September 14, 2015, physically, whatever the undulations in space-time caused by gravitational waves generated by two colliding black holes which are 1.3 billion light years away. Remember, this LIGO's discovery has been remembered by the world political leaders and also the scientific community as one such discovery which will go down in history as one of the humanity's greatest scientific achievements. Hence, the theory of Big Bang to be learnt in detailed manner is also important. Along with this, finally, in India we have this project called LIGO India project, and this has been conceived and this is being built by the Department of Atomic Energy and the Department of Space Science and Technology with a memorandum of understanding that they have with National Science Foundation USA. And there are many other national and international research and academic institutions which are also part of this entire effort. This clearly lists out why the theory of Big Bang is very important for the exam from the preliminary point of view and also from the interview perspective, to know in a bit elaborate manner. Let's look at this Big Bang theory in a elaborate manner.